day, folks. This is Charlotte Cornegay coming live to you with another Forever Friends Academy live episode. How are you guys doing? Good to be on with you guys as per usual. Let me introduce myself just in case I get somebody new on the podcast tonight, which I would absolutely love. My name is Charlotte Cornegay. I am an author, a recording artist, creator of Interact Coaching and Forever Friends Academy, and this is my show, Forever Friends Academy, where we talk about all relationship topics. Where, when you come here, my main mission is to help people to love to their fullest capacity and to develop relationships that last a lifetime. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you'll hear something that you like tonight. And if you do, what I need from you to do is go to my Forever Friends Academy YouTube channel, subscribe, comment, like, share, most importantly, so that the content can be spread. So if you want to check out my music, I'm also a musical artist. On stage, I go by Charlotte K. That's Charlotte with an S, not an C. Yeah, my mother had to be different. um, Definitely go to your music platform of your choice and check it out while I'm cooking up some new music for you guys. So I see I have someone new in the building. I don't believe I've seen you ever before. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Is this Rev Barclay? Welcome to our show tonight, and hopefully you hear something that you like and can join in the engaging conversation. So let's get into it tonight, because I'm not going to stay on long because I came on really, really late tonight, but I wanted to come on with you guys because I missed Sunday. We had my daughters had a dance recital, my son's birthday, so it was like all of these activities and festivities that just kept me away from you guys. So I was like, okay, I am going to come on tonight no matter what, because I still had a lot of things to do as well today. But I was like, it doesn't matter. Whatever night owls I get, they'll be on with me. So tonight, I want to have a conversation with you guys about community in regards to developing relationships. And so for those of you who are usually normatively on with me, you know that I usually start with a quote and then a question that I want to throw out to you guys. So the quote for tonight is, "Alone we do so little, together we do so much." Pretty simple enough, right? You're probably, maybe those of you who were on with me the last time I was on, which was last Thursday, we talked about having the mentality of less is more in relationships and how it helps to, you know, help us to experience better quality in our relationships, right? So maybe you might thinking like, okay, well, now you're talking about alone we can do so little, together we can do so much more. Maybe they're tied in. But nonetheless, that is the quote for tonight. It is from Helen Keller. I'll say it one more time. "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." As per usual, do you think that is a truthful quote? Do you think there's some gems of wisdom in there? And do you think, most importantly, is it applicable to, apply to relationships, to develop relationships that last a lifetime? And my question for you guys tonight, I want to kind of segue into this conversation by asking you guys this question. What would you say is either the greatest lie or the biggest lie, false truth, that was told to you in your 20s? If you're in your 20s now, let me know. If you were in your 20s, let me know what it is. What do you think was something that was basically a false truth, a deception that is kind of fed to us in our 20s that doesn't set us up for the most optimal experiences in our relationships? Let me know what your thought is. I have a video that I want to show to you guys tonight that's going to also help us dive into this conversation about community. But I want, again, to throw that question out to you guys tonight to see if I get some feedback from you guys. Now, I know there's probably like many different things that you can, well, I don't know, maybe not. But maybe it's causing you to think about, I don't know, what was told to me that I felt kind of gave me more of a disadvantage than an advantage when it comes to, in my 20s, in that very, I think definitely at least I think when we go into our 20s, it sets a good foundation of how we're going to right live out our adult life. And so I know for me, when I started to do relationship coaching, one of my target groups are those who are like college, the kids, not every high school student goes to college, but people in that range, like 18 to 29, I really have a heart and a passion to reach that type of age gap because I know how, confusing, you know, how confusing, how you're trying to kind of like figure out your own space in the world, and there's so many things that come at you. And I took communication studies in college, and we learned that definitely a lot of times corporations, organizations, many people target that age group 18 to 29 because it is right one of the stages in life where you can be very easily influenced, you are moldable, things like that. So a lot of people will try to get boys, girls, women, men in that age group because they know that they can be easily or more susceptible. I don't want to say easily, like, but it's just the truth, right? You're just starting out, so you're trying to find your way. So depending on who you connect with and who you network with, it can really either give you a great foundation and set you off on a great start. But if you run into, per se, maybe the wrong people, then it won't give you the best foundation. So while you guys think about that, I'm going to say the quote again and the question, ponder on it. All right. Again, the quote for tonight is alone, we do so little. Together, we do so much. And the question for tonight is what do you think is or was the greatest lie that was told to you in your 20s about the development of relationships, right? And you can let me know if you, and maybe it wasn't told to you, maybe it was something told around you, and maybe you had people in your circle, in your corner, that, told you don't listen to that because that's not going to give you the best advantage to develop healthy relationships. Maybe you can tell me in that way. So let me know. Definitely, I appreciate if you want to type it out. But if you don't want to type it out, as per usual, you can use the QR code that you see right now in the corner and scan that QRC code, and you can get on the show with me. You can get on the show with me. Talk to me screen to screen. For those who are on Instagram, I'm going to paste the code for the link. It's not a code, it's a link. Sorry, guys. Where you can get on with me because I know if you're on Instagram, it's going to cut it off for you. So I'm going to put the link in the comments so that you can, if you can't, scan it, you can hopefully, use the link and get on that way. And I'll probably also later on put on the other screen that has the barcode that I think you should be able to see it there, but we'll see. But for right now, I'm going to play the video that I have for you guys tonight. And it is by one of, I was going to say my favorite people, but that's not true. It is by someone who I definitely think he's a very intriguing character. I definitely loved him. I think, or not loved, but liked that he used to be the host, I believe, of The Daily Show. I might be saying it wrong. But his name is Trevor Noah, and he's a comedian among other things, host, and he also has now his own podcast. I cannot remember the name of the podcast that he does. Nonetheless, though, very intriguing person to me. I think he's super intelligent, and I always like to hear his the way he spins. You know, I used to watch the show not in real time, but I would check out the replays often to hear his spin on the current events, especially news. I love to listen to his show because I felt like I can get what was going on in current events without feeling the bogged down type of overwhelmed feeling that sometimes I get from listening to just like, you know, mainstream news. And it's because he used to add the comedy with it. So definitely the clip is, I believe it's from his own podcast. I did not find the from his original page, but I did find someone who reposted it. So that's the snippet you're going to see. So it's the topic that they were talking about was the deception of success culture. And I'm going to play the clip and then I'll come back and we'll talk about it. All right. And then I'll give you my answer to what I believe was or is, because I still believe it continues to be one of the greatest lies that are told to young people, right? To from teens all the way into like, you know, early mid 20s, that I'm so happy that we're talking about tonight, that I'm prayerfully hoping that whether you're on in real time right now or you're catching the replay, that it will help to one, remove the false truth in taking on that type of mindset, and hopefully implementing and applying what we're going to talk about tonight, instead, to give you a great foundation to establish healthy relationships overall. All right, so let me play the video for you guys. All right, and then I will be back.
I'm glad you said in the West, because that's something that I've found is the ultimate um, paradox of coming from a developed country versus a developing nation. You know, so first world, third world is the thing that you're sold in developed nations is that you have everything. Oh, it's great. The roads work and the schools are fantastic and there's health care and, you know, this is a great country to be in. The one thing that nobody seems to tell you is that as a country becomes more and more developed, the one thing that gets eroded is community.
Yeah.
The village disappears.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is you have to buy the village back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You have
So
to buy the house.
you
buy a
literally you have to
housekeeper,
buy somebody to look after your kid. You have to buy somebody to help you clean your house. You have to buy somebody to help you fix your you have to buy somebody to cook. You have to buy, you're buying the same village that they tricked you into not having. Like I'm always amazed at the con of it all. This machine, this larger thing, told everyone you should get your own house and you should live by yourselves. How can you still live with your parents in the same house? This is ridiculous. What? And so everyone goes off, they get their own house to live by themselves, they have a kid, and now you need somebody to come and look after the kid, but they can't just come a few. If you know what, you should get a bigger house. They could live with you. You could have a live-in nanny.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, they call that an aunt.
Or a sister.
They call that a grandmother. They call it a sister.
Yeah.
They call it a, and in the West, that's one of the biggest things I've realized is every time people bring up statistics of how birth rates are declining in the West, I'm amazed at how people never seem to want to talk about the fact that the West doesn't encourage people to have kids. And what I mean by encourage is not telling people to do it, but encouraging is facilitating, I think, in many ways.
Yes.
All right. So that's the video, folks. I absolutely love that little snippet that I came across. And this is definitely near and dear to me because I constantly talk about the importance of community. And I always, whenever someone asks me about how I started to get into the space of the relationship industry and helping, becoming a relationship coach and helping people develop their relationships, you know, they often ask me, how did that come about? Why do you do it? And one of the main reasons that I do it is because I have experienced, in my own experience, felt the beauty of having community come in to help. You know, especially for me, I've said many times before that my father passed away when I was young and I didn't grow up all the way throughout my childhood with my mother. So whether it was the teachers that I saw, definitely by the time Ben and I started our forever friendship in high school, my goodness, his mother literally, she told me, call me mom, even before he said, we were just friends. And even before he could even like bat an eye to think about whether I was going to be, a potential person that he could see as his wife, I literally, from the first moment I met his mom, she was like, call me mom. What do you want? What do you need? And I have experienced firsthand how important having community is, and how important it is for definitely someone who, you know, doesn't have, that immediate community that you are supposed to get from, of course, your family members. So one of the main reasons why I continue to keep going, even on days when I, because it is, I'm not gonna lie, it is an exchange when you are helping people develop essential areas in their life, right? And especially helping people, fine tune and also identify maybe areas that are causing either blocks in their relationships, or they're realizing they're doing certain patterns or behaviorisms that aren't serving their relationships. That's not easy to go through. It's not easy for the person who's processing through it. It's not easy. Sometimes for me, depending on how deep we go, right, there definitely is. And I have to have a process of, what I'm expending out, and how I'm recharging and renewing my energy, right? So one of the reasons why I continue to do it, though, is when I see the fruit of, right, the coaching, or the fruit of me and my husband and I, our willingness to bring people into our home and share what we have been able to learn, or from our experience, or from what, God sees fit or inspires us to share. Seeing the community that's built, seeing the what's the word, like confidence that it brings into their life, it's everything. So I completely agree with that video and what he said. And hey, Emily, and hey, Maya, how are you beautiful ladies doing? We are talking about the importance of community in relationships today. And the way that I segued into this conversation is I did throw out a quote for tonight. And the quote is, alone we do so little, together we do so much, by Helen Keller. And the question that I threw out to start the conversation or facilitate this discussion tonight is, what is the greatest lie that, and Emily can't, I don't know if Emily can answer this question because I don't even think she's gotten there yet. Well, so we'll do teens to 20s. What is the greatest lie that you think that you have either heard in regards from like late teens into 20s, that you feel that you've heard about relationships that kind of sets you up not to have the most optimal experiences? So that is the question for tonight. What's the greatest lie that you think you have heard about developing relationships that you feel like has, and maybe it's not something that you took on, maybe something you just heard around you and were like, no, I don't think that's right because such and such, right? So that's the question for tonight. And you guys came in after I played a video. I did play a video by Trevor Noah. He's a comedian, host, author. Oh my gosh. He has his own podcast. He's many things, right? And in the video, I played his video because it basically is the answer that I have for tonight. And on the video, he is originally from South Africa, I believe. And he was saying in the video that one of the most deceptive things about success culture in the West is that you basically seek independence, go out on your own, and once you're out on your own, you are deemed to be successful. And he said it's interesting, and it's one of the most, what he said in the video is the most paradox type of kind of system or way of thinking, because he says in the West, when you do that, you go out and you seek your success and you become independent. What he said in the video is that you have to then buy back community. And he was stating that, let's say you go out on your own and you're independent, and then, you have children. Now you don't have, right, the community of your grandmothers, your aunties, etc., that are there to help you. So now you have to buy back the community, meaning he said you have to hire a nanny. You have to put that child in daycare, right? So you can be able to do, just simple things like go to work. And now, I guess with that type of independent, isolated type of culture, whereas in underdeveloped countries, that's already there, right? Community is the backbone of how they live, right? And they might not have as solid infrastructure as we do in the West, right? As far as like medical care, paved roads, these are things that he was saying in the video, and I think that's one of the greatest lies. And so I agreed with him. So I saw that clip and I was like, okay, I will play that clip for them, and I think that's one of the greatest things and greatest lies that I think is taught to from really honestly, right? Because into high school, I know for me, you guys can let me know your thoughts on it, but definitely it's like do your work, hustle hard, especially for black little girls. Definitely do your work, hustle hard. Don't focus on relationships. Go get your degrees, and things like that, and you're successful. Now, for me, it's a little different because I can relate to what he said on the video because I'm from Caribbean background, right? I'm Jamaican. And so if you talk to a lot of people in the Caribbean culture, in our households, they're not like pushing out, like once you get like 20s or something like that, they're not saying you got to go, or you got to do something with your life. In a lot of the Caribbean households, you'll see, generations living together. It's not, and helping each other out, as long as there's some type of system where everyone's kind of chipping in and helping each other out, that's more than welcomed. And so my view is similar to his, so it's a little bit different. Even if we come over to and travel to America and become citizens of America and integrate into society, I've seen a lot of Caribbean people still keep that type of culture, and it is very helpful when you do have a community that's there. I was just talking to a mother of one of my vocal students, and she was saying that her husband was away on a business trip, and a friend basically came in to stay with her until he comes back because is expecting a child, and she has four other children at home. And so she was able to bring her daughter, who I vocally, I'm a vocal coach. She can come to the lessons because she's there with her. And she said they were just actually having a conversation about this because I told her that's what I was going to talk about tonight when I came on. And she said it's so important. And I completely, completely, completely agree about it. Let me see. Emily. You gotta love Emily. Emily said, oh, that tickled me, Emily. Emily said, I might have heard some bad advice, but I didn't remember it. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, Emily. That's a really good thing. Some advice some advice that we get, it's so pervasive, right? In mainstream culture, mainstream media, things like that. It's hard to get away from it. So it's really good to be in a position that you are in, where it's like, okay, yeah, I might have heard some bad advice, but no, I didn't remember it. That's great. I think this particular one that I'm bringing up, I think is so pervasive in the culture that we live in. And I led with saying, okay, this is what advice did you hear in your 20s or late teens and things like that, because I think that's such an impressionable age. And we most of us know that that is our targeted age, anywhere from like 18 to 25, because that that person is trying to figure their way, and can be influenced at that age, at a great deal. That's why you'll see, many of the advertisements, many of the organizations, many of the corporations, even the military, right? Are those are ideal age, stages because of that. And so I absolutely love talking to that age group, in talking to them about establishing relationship and just fundamental universal principles that they can apply, because it's so important, because those years really do, how you navigate them really will set you up for, right, how you step into your adulting stage. She said, because why would I take advice that I think is bad? Very true, Emily. And I've always said from my point of view, I think you're more on the mature end. But I think some mindsets and some advice and or opinions that are wrapped in advice are so steeped in culture that it's very hard to get away from it. In my book, Seven Stages of Love and Relationships, that I wrote in the book, that, just because something is common doesn't mean it is truthful or that it's natural. But there are many times where things that are commonly known, or certain processes in life that are commonly experienced by people, sometimes we don't question whether those things really are truthful, or really are beneficial, because so many people before us have, gone through this, and this is what they said, right? And that is one of the easiest ways where something that is not actually factual or truthful can become, known as, right, the truth, or to be, and you don't think it's bad advice, but it is, like kind of, I think, what I'm bringing up tonight. And you guys let me know, maybe that's something, let me know if you think you more of a counter argument where it's like, no, that's actually a good thing, to go out, or maybe you don't think what he said is true. I guess that's a way that I can kind of get your feedback in that. Do you think that what he stated, and of course you guys came after the video, but I stated what he said in the video, which he said underdeveloped countries, although they might not have all of the things, right, that we have in the West, whether it's the technology, the infrastructure of the paved roads and medical care and things like that, but they do have community. They do have community, whereas we have, a lot of other things, a lot of other material things. And then now the system, the way that it's set up, because we are taught to seek independence, and that the epitome of success is when you can be independent from the community that you were, birthed into or brought into. That is how we deem you as being successful. And then now, as life continues to unfold and evolve, now you have to buy back community. You have to buy a nanny, or buy and purchase, weekly, daily, etc., to put your child into daycare to be watched while you can, most of us, right, make a living, if it's not a dynamic where one of the parents can stay at home, right? Let me know if you think that is a truthful statement, and let me know if you think that is actually something that would be bad advice. Right? Bad advice is that, you know, seek your independence. The way that you can assess whether you're truly successful is when you can, right? Go out on your own, and provide for yourself. And do you think that takes away from the importance that community has in our households, in our lives, in the development of our relationships, you know? Let me know, because I definitely, and that's something I tell a lot of, the younger people that I talk to. That's one of the first things I say. I tell them, like, okay, you know, if you are wanting to go to college or whatever the next steps that you are going to take, please do not be fooled, do not be dismayed. Yes, of course, doing your work, putting the work in, getting great grades, all of that is important. But let me tell you, it will not be greater than you networking, than you establishing relationships and making connections. I will never forget one, this is close family, friend, but family. And she's the one that I always say to you guys that gave me one of the great gems and great advice, because I was struggling with the same thing. I had recently just got married. When we got married, I was still in college. We moved, and we both were commuting, and it was, it was going to be strainful for our marriage. And I was trying to navigate all of the newness of not only just being in a new place, also having to handle school, also having to handle work, and right, my new position as a wife. And so I decided to, leave my job as a manager and then try to find something here and go to school and then, balance all of that. And I remember her, excuse me, I remember her telling me, because I was telling her I felt so bad because I was in the transition. I hadn't found anything yet. And I was feeling really down, and telling her, man, I really want to add to the finances of my household, but I'm not, And I remember her telling me, Charlotte, like, ugh. And this is a very, very educated, she had about, I don't know, by then probably, and I don't even know the number, but she's had many businesses, right? By the time she's giving me this advice, and I remember her always looking at me and telling me, Charlotte, no, what you're doing right now is the most important. Building family, having children, right? If that's what you want to do, because she said there's no time clock, there's no time limit or time restriction on you building your business. You can flip a business, you can do so many things that there is no time clock on. But this information that I'm telling you, I wish someone would have told me back when I was your age, right? And when she told me that, it really opened up my eyes, opened up my heart in a different way. This same woman is the one, you know, who at the same time, was a part, thankfully, a part of my community to let me know that I wasn't to shift my focus to let me know that it wasn't that I had to focus just on, the degrees that I was getting or the businesses or the money that I could bring in, and help me to refocus on what was essential and what was the most important. And I remember she also, in many of our other discussions, she went to Yale among another school. I can't remember the name of the other school, but she said when she went to Yale, because I asked her, I said, how was it? What was it like going to Ivy League school? Like, what was, I guess, in my curiosity, I want to know, like, what is the advantage, right? What's the difference, advantage between going to an Ivy League school versus, state school or another school that's not as well known? And she said, honestly, Charlotte, I don't necessarily think there's a difference in the education that you get. However, when I went to the schools, I don't know whether it was her father or someone that her father knew, let her know and said, when you go to that school, no matter what kind of grades you get or et cetera, make sure that you connect with the people that are there, because the people that are there are going to be people who will get sponsorships, who will have certain opportunities that others don't have, and you want to connect with them because they are going to be the people that when you need to get a position, when you need to get into your career, they are going to be the ones that will help and aid you to do that. Use the space that you're in, the proximity that you have to these people to your advantage, because that is what is the most important. And so I bring that up because I think, again, right, that's where community comes into play. It's not necessarily the things that we think that are going to, move us forward in, the greatest way. Like if you have the best grades, you should be the one who can, get this position. And oftentimes that's not the truth, right? Oftentimes it's who you know, right? And who you connect with, and what type of community do you have around you that will help to facilitate these opportunities for you. And so, even in that situation, it rings true. So, I definitely think community is important. Clearly, right? Because I've done and started my Forever Friends Academy, where I do group coaching, and it's helpful when you hear other people going through similar things, experiencing similar things, and hearing maybe how they dealt with the situation, and having other people maybe offer, right, maybe options or different solutions that you might not have thought of. But community is so important, and that's why I really love in that video how he highlights that, because I specifically like how he said you have to buy back community, that the system that is created in the West is such a paradox, because once you seek the independence to be declared successful, now you have to go about buying back the community that honestly was or should be, right? It's not, everyone's not in that type of situation where maybe their, right, immediate family is, it might not be as supportive, might not be the community for them. But I will tell you, I will be, a witness, testify all through and through and throughout, that, yeah, I was a person who, the two fundamental people who is supposed to be my first introduction to community, along the way couldn't be for various reasons. But I will tell you, I always do believe that God always brings, right, angels, people who can be in your community that might not be your family, but they might be people who are in your community, right? Maybe they're the teachers, maybe they're friends that you have, right, that can be community, for you, because that's definitely what happened to me. And if we can embrace it and not kind of wave the flag that, oh yeah, I'm independent, that means I'm successful, I don't need anybody else, I got here all by myself, which is a complete lie, right? Because every successful story, every progress that is made is not made detached from a community supporting that individual in some way, form, or fashion or capacity. So that is definitely what my thoughts are on it. That's what I believe is one of the greatest lies that are told to us in, our 20s, late teens into 20s, is that hustle hard, seek your independence. The first chance you get, you seek your independence, know that you can, provide for yourself and independently from the family that you have. And then now, right, literally for the rest of your life, now you're buying back the community that is supposed to be an interwoven type of, right, factor and system that we live by. And I love what he said in the video. He said, in the West, we're buying back the community because we're buying the nannies or we're paying for the daycare, etc. And he said, where I come from, in my country in South Africa, those were the aunties, those were the grandmothers, those were, right, the family members that played an integral part, for helping one another. So those are my thoughts. You guys let me know. And hey, we fear Jesus. Oh, you were in here before. I love your name. Every time I hear it, every time I read it and see it, I love it because that's that. Well, I'm a believer, so I'm a believer in Christ, so I absolutely love it. Uh, if you're just coming in, we're talking about the importance of community. And the quote that I put out for tonight is alone we can do so little, together we can do much. And the question that I put out is what is the greatest lie that you believe people in their 20s are told, maybe late teens to 20s since Emily is in here. Yeah. And my answer was along with the video that I showed of Trevor Noah saying that, unfortunately, there is a grave deception in the success culture in the West is that you seek your independence from the community that you are birthed into, or maybe the community that is created around you. And then you spend the rest of your life buying back that same community, right? And not even the same community because they're not, right? If you're putting a nanny versus a grandmother or a nanny versus an aunt in a healthy family, right? Because I know some people might be listening to this like, listen, not my grandmother, not my auntie, no, in a healthy situation, right? People who are willingly want to, have the opportunity to help support you and aid you, in that situation those two aren't equal. Those two things aren't equal, right? And I think there has been so much, conversation and deceptive, what's the word I'm looking for? Deception brought to us to say, you know, you do it on your own. You want to do it on your own, and when you can stand on your own, then that's the epitome of success, and that's just not true. I think whether it's on a grand scale and we look at how the systems of the world we live in is run, that we need each other, right? From the buses that we take or the planes that we ride, just all of it. The supermarket, the grocery clerk, all of it, I always say, is a system of trust that God has put us in, right? Of trust and interdependence that we need each other. That's on the grand scheme. But if we go all the way and reel it back to just like a relationship between two people, you want to have that mentality of community because, well, that's what it's going to be, even if it's only a community of two people trying to figure out how to harmonize with each other, trying to figure out how do I deal with your background, my background, and our differences and our different perspectives and different opinions, and how do we get in alignment on the same page and stay there, to where the differences can be complementary, and the things that we do believe in, we can kind of, double down on it and compound, right, and progress and build a legacy. It still takes that mentality of understanding the importance of community. There would be no reason to have another individual in your life if you felt like you can be an army of one or that you were all good by yourself. The whole point of that other person coming in your life is to offer their complementary, right, skills or complementary nature or character to your life so that we can learn and grow, right? We can sharpen each other when it comes to our strengths. We can help each other improve our weaknesses and work together, So I hope that if anybody's listening in real time, as well as whoever's going to catch the replay, that if you walk away with anything, walk away with the simple quote that I said: alone we can do little, together we can do much. And definitely, if you are talking about establishing intimate relationships that go into marriage or just friendships, or if you're going into college, if you're going into any kind of sector into the world, having that mentality will give you a better foundation, to experience relationships more on an optimal level, and also be able to intentionally make the connections in life that can, right? Facilitate those pivotal moments that can push you forward. Without having that mentality, then we'll live a life buying back the community that we lack, you know, which is just, I think it's such a, when I when I think of it, it puts so much distaste in my mouth, because I'm like, I think that's just setting up people to fail on purpose, just so that we're continuously living our life in this kind of like cyclical pattern that does is not advantageous for us, So I think it's better for us to start like in our homes and our families, stressing the importance of, right, the development of relationships, the development of having a strong community around you. And that, no, do not beat your chest. Don't feel like, oh, you've made it now once you are independent and away from your family. That is not the goal. The goal is to, at least in my sense, is to learn the life lessons that we need to learn here, and push each generation forward, right? And each one teach one, as they say. And, or as I've heard it before, you owe what you know, right? So I'm on here because I feel like I owe what I know. Like the things that I've been able to experience, the ways that God has given me to articulate like the process of relationships and the systems, and help people understand the process more, make the complex things a little bit more simple, and introduce the fundamental principles that they can kind of ground and anchor their self in, as well as, right, the relationships that they develop and keep. That's the main reason why I'm here, is because it's like, why have your experiences in life? Why gain the knowledge that you gain or the wisdom that you gain if it's just for you to keep for yourself? We just had a lot of family members up here, our community here, because we were celebrating, two things at the same time. And we had a couple, a client and what we call them, family, right? Friends, but family here. And it was so great seeing them. They moved to California, and it was such a blessing to see them, because, again, they're friends, but they were also clients of mine that are now married. They've going into their first year of marriage. And it was such a blessing and a pleasure to see all of the seeds that were sown literally come to fruition, and I was able to talk to them, and I was just like, wow, like, look at you, you're married. I remember, all of the challenges, all of the talks of keeping the faith, and look at you, here you are now, So I don't think, for me, there's no greater reward that I get in being able to extend and offer to someone else, a part of the blessing that God so graciously has extended to me. And for all the people who poured into me and in my life, I could never not offer that service to someone else. I just had my young vocal client today, and she's 7, and she's so adorable, but also so mature. And she had another breakthrough moment today. And when I see her, I'm just like looking at myself, because, well, she's actually a lot better. I tell her a lot better than I was, because I had such stage fright. It was only sung once at the age of 9, and then dropped the mic and ran off the stage, and thought I was never going to sing again, and literally put that on the back, burner. But today, I had given her some new exercises to kind of like keep her endurance while she's singing, because anybody who's a singer knows, we got to exercise. There's a lot of breath control, a lot of exercises that you have to do to make sure that your voice endures through the whole song, especially if you're singing songs that have a lot of like high notes or belting notes or songs that get, as songs should, get stronger and better as you continue to sing it. And so one of our challenges is that she was learning the song, but she was getting faint, like, and her voice was getting weaker, as she got to the end of the song. So I gave her some new exercises to help her be able to kind of like keep her endurance up, keep the strength up. And oh my goodness, they worked like chef's kiss. Like it was, I knew before she sung the song, just in the warm-ups that we did, and saw how strong her voice was even during the warm-ups, that she was going to sound incredible. But when she got on that mic, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this was a timid, shy little girl. Her voice was so inside herself. And when I tell you, she was just like singing out, she was adding her own, little inflections on the song. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like it melted my heart. And I even challenged her because we had two other potential clients that were on the other side in the studio. We have a home studio where I live. And they were there. And I said, you know what? Are you up for a challenge? And she said, yeah. And I said, can I bring the other people in to see you sing? And she was like, okay. And I was just like, oh my gosh. She's like way braver than I was, because, she's 7. And, she kind of like turned away and she was singing, looking towards her mother or looking towards me, to kind of keep her secure. And then she opened up and started looking at them. And I just was like, oh my gosh. It's such a vulnerable process singing in front of, people. You kind of like, okay, I don't want to make a mistake. And just, I always say to people, like, as a singer, you are the instrument. There is no piano, there's no guitar, there's nothing to hide behind, right? So you are completely exposed. And so for her to be able to do that, get through the song, she didn't get through the song, she sounded amazing. She was able to do it like 3 4 times the same way. So I knew she wasn't getting lucky. I knew that she was intentionally hitting the note she wanted to, making the movements the way that she did. And I was just so proud of her, but we all cheered her on. And in that little moment of her, breaking through another level as a singer in her growth, she had a community there to support her, right? And so she'll never forget that. That it's a completely different experience than if she's in the room alone, right? Just singing the song, going through it, and even if she records herself and she thinks it's good, it's completely different when you have an audience there of people that right? Her mom and me, those are the regulars, but now you have, right, strangers that you have vulnerably said, I'm going to sing in front of, and we all just supported her, So that's like just another little example of why community is important, and why that experience is something that that allows for more, right, memorable moments. And listen, as this life compounds and you increase your capacity in all of the areas of your life, then you gain more responsibility, right? And no matter how great we are at the execution of it all, no matter who you are, you need community to be able to do it, you know, in the most like optimal way possible. Because man, have you ever tried to see someone trying to do it all by themselves on their own? Man, it's not a good look. It's very stressful. I just came across a little snippet of I think it's Pastor Jamal Bryant, his wife, and I don't remember her name right now, so forgive me for that. But I think it was a little snippet from their podcast, and she was saying that when they married, they discussed having children. And she was saying in the clip that she decided that she didn't want to have children at that moment, I believe. I don't know if it has changed, because in the podcast clip, she said, in that moment, I told you that I didn't want to have children because he travels a lot. He's a pastor, very, big church and things like that. And she said she did not want to raise the children alone, even though they're married. If he's away, a lot of the right responsibility would fall on her. And she said one of the main reasons why she decided that in that moment is because she saw her mother, she saw so many other women, doing the single mom, do and even if they were married, maybe feeling like they were a single mom because a lot of the responsibilities and duties fell on them because maybe the dynamic of the father having to be away. And she said she realized that in her being, it created this mindset like, no, children mean stress, children mean being overwhelmed, children means like you not being able, right, to kind of thrive and do the things that you need to do because of what she saw. And, I was reading some of the comments underneath, and one woman wrote that, she thanked her for talking about this topic because she said it was necessary. And she said she used to be like that. And she said she didn't realize that she was actually influencing other women to not have children because of that same type of mindset. And she said she had to kind of like come to herself, go to God, get healed, so that she would know, one, ruminate that type of energy towards other women, but also heal within herself. Because, right, it doesn't have to be that it the experience of motherhood, right? It does not have to be that for everyone. And, but I brought up that clip because I think that's another, right, example of why community is so important. Because if we are bringing back and talking about the importance of community, if we're not, waving the wonderful flag of, okay, you are of supreme status because you have, you know, climbed the corporate ladder on your own, you've done everything, and you're independent, and you're out of your family's house and things like that, and that to be the ideal, prototype of a success, then, right, once we kind of like don't idolize that and really bring the truth that, you know, throughout your life, you're going to need community. Like even if you are the person who built this, etc., great business or corporation, you don't think that you're going to need community? You're going to need employees, you're going to need workers. There's no stage or space in life or culture where community is not at the foundation of creating, you know, great countries, great nations, nations where people aren't boggled down or that, as Mother Teresa says, the greatest disease is loneliness, right? So where loneliness isn't, one of the major issues where mental health, is the thing that people are struggling with. All of those things, if you provide community, it provides a solution for that, So I don't think there's anywhere that you can look out where you can't, if you put, community there in its, most ideal form, where it wouldn't create, a benefit or be beneficial for the people. So that is what I think, folks. And of course, as always, whether you're watching in real time or catching the replay, let me know your thoughts. Let me know. Say, Charlotte, I completely disagree with you. Being independent does, give you your status, let you know that you're successful, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have a problem buying back my community, whatever your thoughts are. Or, what, Charlotte, I completely agree with you. Absolutely. And let me know. Flood my feed, as I say. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. And let me know, on a positive note, if you do have a community that's supporting you, let me know how and what the importance of community is for you. Okay. Thank you, Emily. Emily said, interesting, interesting. I appreciate it. I thought it was interesting too. That's why I said I saw the clip and I was like, oh, I got to play this clip for you. So even though you missed a clip, I did go over everything on it. So definitely. So hopefully Emily is young and going into this, so hopefully you heard something that you can kind of keep with you, at the forefront of your mind as you are navigating, your next steps after graduating high school and whatever you're going to do, go to college or and things like that. Looking for those people who are valuable, that can be a part of your community, that can help, because I really was sad when he said, like, I guess, is it sad? Yeah, it was. It was like sad and distaste at the same time when he said, that truthful statement that in the West, you seek independence, you become success. The epitome of success is that you do things on your own. And then for the rest of your life, you're left buying back the community. That's the statement that really got me. I was like, that feels like a little bit like a dagger. But boy, that is the truth. I can't. He told no lie. It's so true. You do. You end up, and that's the crazy part. And then they look at you like you're really successful because you can afford the nanny. You can afford the daycare that's like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like that. Whereas if you just had a community of a proud grandmother, or a proud auntie or a proud uncle, or you know, you wouldn't have to spend all that money because the community would be there to help you and support you. So I think a lot of the challenges that we face currently can be solved by just having the right community around you. So enough of me on my soapboard. Or is it soapbox? I said that wrong. I said soapboard. Soapbox. I am going to get off with you guys. Thank you for all you night owls that came on here with me. I so appreciate it. And again, if you heard anything that you like tonight and you are new, or if you are returning and you still heard something that you like and have not subscribed to my Forever Friends Academy YouTube channel, please do so. And like, comment, and share. Most importantly, share, because, we want to get this content out, because the Lord knows there's a lot of the opposite. All right. So definitely good. Emily, she said, I'll try to use that. Me too. I'm still, this is like I said, late teens to 20s, but let me tell you, okay, it's like the lesson from young age all the way up, I think has to be learned, and I'll leave with this because what Emily said just triggered my thought in the conversation that I had with the young mother today. She said she used to work at a nursing home, and she said one of the reasons why she knows community is important is because she was like an activity director at the nursing home. And she was so shocked, she said, when she went in the nursing home, she saw that many of them were young, right? They weren't in like their 80s and 90s. Like they were young people that just kind of like checked out either in their mind. And she realized that, they hired her because there were so many of them that didn't have people coming there to check on them, right? And so when you have that detachment from a community and lack of it, the kind of breakdown, whether it's mental breakdown or emotional breakdown, etc., right, can be expedited. And so that's another, right? There's so many examples that I could use to kind of like really, hone in, the fact and the truth about that statement that he made. So definitely focus on community, of course, the right people, right? I'm not saying for you to just try to get any old community and be around toxic folks. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Definitely just have a nice eye out, have your heart open for people who God is putting in your path, to be kind of like little, angels on the way for you. They might be for a season, maybe they might be all the way throughout. But if you can have a community and offer yourself as well to be a part of someone's community to help support them in life, it makes life a lot more enjoyable and definitely a lot more easier to navigate for sure. All right, so I'm definitely getting off now. All right, so have a good night, guys. I will be on, oh my gosh, Sunday. Wow, this week went by fast, folks. Oh my gosh, June is almost over. This year is going by like a flash. All right, so I will talk to you guys soon. As always, always remember to live to love freely. Until next time, bye, folks.